Welcome back to our masterclass. If in the first two sessions we explored the dusty roots of 1979 and the courageous Sicilian laboratory, today we enter an era of true maturity. We are talking about Law Number 9 of 26 January 2026. Rachel, this is not a simple reform. It is the birth certificate of a new national awareness.
You are absolutely right, Jake. For decades, Italy considered the sea only as a surface. This law changes everything. It officially introduces the concept of the underwater dimension. We're no longer just talking about fish and corals, but about a true fifth strategic domain, on par with space or cyberspace. Article 1 clarifies that state control now extends to the depths of the abyss, wherever there are infrastructures of national interest.
To manage this immense domain, the state could no longer rely on fragments of expertise scattered among various ministries. That is why Article 4 establishes the Agency for the Safety of Underwater Activities. Rachel, let's analyze the scope of this entity. What exactly does this agency bring to the table?
The agency is the brain of the entire operation. It is based in Rome, has a legal personality under public law, and enjoys a very rare autonomy, regulatory, administrative, and financial. The Director General, appointed by the Prime Minister, becomes the pivot between the civil, military, and industrial worlds. It is the end of the bureaucratic chaos that characterized the sector for too long. This centralization is designed to create a cohesive national strategy.
Let's move to the technical details that directly interest professionals in the sector. Article 2 rewrites the vocabulary. The OTS, understood as a port worker, disappears, and the professional underwater and hyperbaric operator appears. But the real novelty, awaited for decades, is the definition of the hyperbaric technician, or HT. Finally, those who operate saturation chambers or complex support systems have their own legislative dignity. They are no longer generic personnel, they are specialized technicians certified by the state. This recognition feels very significant for those working in those niches.
It is a huge step for professionalization, and there is a fundamental point on digitalization, the personal electronic logbook. Article 2, letter S, erases decades of damp paperwork and faded stamps. The diver's entire curriculum, bottom hours, medical exams, training qualifications, ends up in a secure national database. This guarantees that companies can verify a worker's fitness in a second, increasing safety exponentially and streamlining processes. It's a pragmatic solution to an old problem.
That sounds incredibly efficient, though, perhaps a little impersonal for some. But Rachel, Law 9 also looks very far ahead towards machines. Article 6, letter G, gives the agency the power to define the rules for underwater vehicles. We are talking about ROVs, autonomous drones, and civilian submersibles. Today, the underwater dimension is a mix of flesh and silicon. The law recognizes this and establishes rigorous safety standards for everything that sails below sea level. Was such a framework truly necessary at this stage, or is it a bit preemptive?
Absolutely, yes, it was necessary. With the increase in technological complexity and the growing presence of autonomous systems, it was essential to establish a clear regulatory framework to guarantee safety and operational compatibility. It is a far-sighted vision that prevents potential dangers and encourages the controlled development of the sector. Without it, we'd be facing a Wild West scenario underwater, which would be disastrous for safety and national interest.
Passage I would define as geopolitical is Article 10. It introduces the obligation of a 15-day prior notice for any underwater activity in our waters. Why such a stringent measure? It almost sounds like a national security provision, not just an activity management one. What's behind such a tight requirement?
In fact, it is. Beneath our seas pass the nerves of the world, data cables and energy conduits. Knowing who dives and where is not a mere formality. It is a matter of national defence. Those working at sea today are, for all intents and purposes, sentinels of the country's security. This article recognizes the vulnerability of underwater infrastructures and the strategic importance of controlling access to them. It's about protecting critical national assets.
And to close this analysis, we cannot ignore Article 21. It is the heart of training. The agency has the task of defining the training path for registration. But a question arises spontaneously. If I obtained my qualification in Sicily under the law of 2016, what happens to me? Do I have to redo everything? This is a crucial aspect for many professionals who've already invested in their careers.
That is exactly where the legislative stroke of genius lies, Jake. Law 9/2026 was not born to destroy, but to scale at a national level what good had been done locally. The state observed the Sicily model and transformed it into the DNA of the new national law. Existing qualifications are not lost, but integrated and recognized within the new regulatory framework, ensuring continuity and valuing experience. It builds upon existing excellence rather than erasing it.
A perfect bridge then between excellence in training and state security. And this is exactly the theme of our fourth and final lesson, the fusion between the Sicilian law of 2016 and the national law of 2026.
It will be a fascinating technical analysis. We will see how the Sicilian regulated diver has become the prototype of the modern national diver, with all the resulting benefits for safety and professionalism.
Prepare your notes. The next session will close the circle of our masterclass. See you next time. If you like this episode, share it with a friend.